She walked into that restaurant knowing she was the punchline of a cruel joke, but she walked out with something no one ever expected, a family that would change her life forever. She wasn't supposed to be welcomed. She wasn't supposed to be seen. That night was meant to break her, a setup designed to remind her how alone she was. But destiny had its own plans, because sometimes the places we walk into with fear become the places where our whole life finally begins. Ayana stood outside the indigo room with her hands trembling against the soft fabric of her dress. She already knew what waited inside. Her coworkers had giggled all afternoon, whispering behind half-closed doors, nudging each other like children with a secret too delicious to hide. A blind date, they said. A fun surprise. But Ayana was not naive. She had overheard enough to know the truth. The entire thing was a cruel prank. They'd arranged for her to meet some creepy older man, someone who would make her uncomfortable while they recorded her reaction from a nearby table. She almost turned back, almost walked away and spared herself the humiliation. But then she took a breath and stepped inside. The indigo room glowed with soft violet lighting, jazz humming gently through the air. Her heart pounded as she approached the table number they had given her. She braced herself for the worst, but when she looked up, her breath caught. That IT wasn't an older IT wasn't anyone creepy. IT was Malik. Quiet eyes, nervous smile, dressed simply but carrying a softness she hadn't expected. And beside him sat a tiny girl with butterfly clips sparkling in her hair, clutching a stuffed bunny with threadbare ears. Little Zuri blinked up at Ayana, her legs swinging under the chair. "Are you the nice lady my daddy told me about?" she asked, voice small and hopeful. Behind them, Ayana heard snickers, heard the faint click of a camera recording. Her coworkers waited eagerly for her embarrassment. But then Zuri's smile grew, warm, pure, untouched by the cruelty around them. And in that single moment, something inside Ayana shifted. The setup meant to break her had just cracked open a doorway she never expected. A doorway toward kindness, toward connection, toward something that felt like home. Ayana lowered herself into the chair with a grace that surprised even her. Her fingers were still shaking, her heart still pounding from the sting of the laughter behind her. But she sat anyway. Not because she wanted the meal, not because she wanted to prove anything. She sat because walking away would have given them exactly what they wanted. Her humiliation, she lifted her chin, offered Malik a polite smile, and said softly, "Hi, I'm Ayana." Malik exhaled in visible relief, shoulders loosening as though he had been carrying an entire day's worth of fear. "I'm really glad you came," he said quietly. I owe you an apology." Ayana frowned gently. "For what?" He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes flicking toward Zuri, who was already pulling out crayons from a tiny, sparkly pouch. "I was supposed to get a babysitter tonight. I didn't want to bring Zuri along and make things awkward, but she got sick last minute. I didn't want to cancel on you. I didn't want you to think I wasn't serious." There was something earnest in his voice, a sincerity Ayana wasn't used to. Not from men, not from coworkers, not from anyone in her life lately. "It's okay," she said, and she meant it. Zuri leaned close, whispering loudly. Daddy changed shirts 3 times because he was nervous. Malik groaned. "Zuri," Ayana let out a soft laugh, the first real one in days. Behind her, a group of her coworkers watched from their table, pretending to sip drinks while their phones peeked over menus. She tried to ignore them, but the familiar heaviness tugged at her chest. Zuri, completely oblivious, scooted her chair closer. "Can I draw you?" she asked, holding up a pink crayon like it was a magic wand. Ayana smiled. "Of course." Zuri immediately began sketching on a paper napkin, tongue poking out in concentration. "What are you drawing?" Ayana asked. "Ayana the princess," Zuri answered proudly. "You need a crown, and sparkles, and a dress that looks soft, because you look soft, like marshmallows." Ayana covered her laugh with her hand. "I've never been compared to a marshmallow princess before." "Well," Zuri said matter-of-factly, "you were my first one." Malik watched the exchange quietly, his eyes softening, gratitude flickering through them. He seemed both surprised and touched by how naturally Ayana spoke to his daughter. When the menus arrived, Malik glanced around awkwardly. I don't know much about fancy restaurants, he admitted. I brought Zuri too. I wasn't sure what she'd eat here. Zuri tapped her bunny's head thoughtfully. We like chicken, and potatoes, and colors. Colors? Ayana asked. Mac and cheese, Zuri clarified. Ayana leaned in conspiratorially. Mac and cheese is the food of royalty. Princess approved. Zuri nodded proudly and went back to drawing. For a moment, the world felt quiet. Calmer, softer, like the three of them were in their own little bubble, a bubble her coworkers couldn't puncture. But of course they tried. Point one of them, Tasha, the ringleader of the prank, strutted over to their table with a smug smile. Oh my God, Ayana, she cooed loudly. You actually came? Ayana stiffened. Malik's eyes lifted, protective instinct flickering. Tasha leaned forward, pretending innocence. Is this your date? And, the kid is yours or his? Ayana opened her mouth to respond, but Malik beat her to it. His voice was calm, measured, yet carried a steady strength that filled the space. This is my daughter, he said, and Ayana is someone I was looking forward to meeting. Tasha blinked, surprised by his composed confidence. Well, good luck, she said with an eye roll. Hope this is your vibe. Her tone was dripping with condescension. Before she could walk away, Malik continued, still calm, still dignified. Whatever you intended tonight, it says more about you than it ever could about her. Tasha froze. Her smirk faltered. For the first time, she had no witty comeback. Malik turned his attention back to Ayana. You deserve better than people who make you the target of their jokes. Ayana didn't know what to say. Her throat tightened, not from embarrassment this time, but from the unfamiliar feeling of being defended, of being seen. Tasha scoffed, flustered, and stomped back to her table. Her coworkers shifted awkwardly, their excitement fading, their phones lowering. Zuri looked up, confused. Did that lady need a timeout? Ayana choked on a laugh. Maybe a long one. Zuri nodded solemnly. Timeouts help people make better choices. Malik chuckled. You're wise beyond your years, little one. Dinner arrived. Warm plates, soft lighting, gentle clinks of silverware. Zuri presented her drawing to Ayana with pride. I made your sparkles extra sparkly, and your smile extra smiley. Ayana stared at the napkin, her heart swelling. No one had drawn her like this. No one had looked at her with innocent admiration, with unfiltered kindness. It's beautiful, she whispered. Can I keep it? Zuri gasped dramatically. Of course. Every princess keeps her portrait. Ayana carefully folded the napkin like it was something precious, because it was. The conversation flowed easily. Stories, laughter, tiny jokes Zuri didn't fully understand but giggled at anyway. Malik shared how he'd been raising Zuri alone since her mother passed away when she was 2. Ayana listened, gently, respectfully, and Malik felt surprisingly comfortable, like he wasn't just speaking to a stranger, but as someone safe. The coworkers' table grew quieter and quieter, their fun ruined, because Ayana wasn't breaking. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't humiliated. She was glowing softly, naturally, joyfully. By the time dessert arrived, Malik looked at Ayana with something tender in his eyes. Thank you, he said quietly, for not walking away. Ayana shook her head. Thank you for not letting them define the night. Zuri reached across the table and placed her tiny hand on Ayana's. Can Princess Ayana sit with us again another time? Ayana looked at Malik, who looked away shyly, and she felt something warm unfold in her chest, a feeling she hadn't felt in years. Yeah, she whispered. I'd like that. And just like that, what began as a joke meant to hurt her became a dinner that healed something inside her. Something fragile, something lonely, something long forgotten. Because sometimes the most painful setups unexpectedly lead to the most beautiful beginnings. The days that followed felt like a quiet miracle Ayana wasn't sure she deserved. Yet somehow, she kept finding herself right in the middle of it. What began as a disastrous prank had turned into late-night conversations, long walks after work, and messages that made her heart race in ways she had forgotten she was capable of feeling. Tea first. It was simple. Ice cream nights at a little corner shop with a neon sign always flicker between pink and blue. Zuri insisting that Ayana try every flavor except the icky mint one because mint tastes like brushing your teeth. Malik laughing as Zuri smeared chocolate across her cheeks and proudly declared herself the queen of sticky faces. And through it all, Ayana felt herself softening, opening, breathing again. Malik texted her every night. Not with empty compliments, but with small, thoughtful messages. Did you eat? I saw a painting today that reminded me of you. Drive safely. The roads are wet. She wasn't used to being cared for this way. It felt gentle, unexpected. Safe point one Saturday afternoon, Ayana stopped by the community center where Malik volunteered. Zuri had begged her to come. Please, Daddy is helping the kids paint today, and I made something special for you. It's drying, but you can see it with your eyes only, okay? Ayana arrived to the sound of laughter, splashes of watercolor hitting paper, and Malik's calm voice explaining how to mix colors. He stood with a smudge of green on his cheek, sleeves rolled up, helping a boy who kept dropping his brush. Zuri spotted Ayana first and ran full speed, bunny in hand. You came? Princess Ayana came. Ayana lifted her with an easy laugh. Of course I did. I had to see your masterpiece. Zuri held up a still damp painting, bold streaks of pink, blue, and sunshine yellow. In the center were three stick figures, one tall, one medium, and one tiny with big curly hair. Above them, written in wobbly letters, Daddy me and Mommy too. Ayana's heart stilled. Her breath caught somewhere between joy and disbelief. Mommy too, she whispered. Zuri nodded with complete certainty. You're not my real mommy, but you feel like a mommy. Daddy says good people make families bigger, not smaller. Ayana blinked back tears, the kind that sting because they touch an old wound, a wound she thought would never heal, a wound left by years of being treated like a joke, like a backup plan, like someone easy to walk away from. But here she was someone's mommy too, someone's comfort, someone's joy, someone's home. Malik approached just then, wiping his hands on a paint-splattered towel. He paused when he saw the painting. I didn't tell her to write that, he said quickly, face flushing. Ayana shook her head. I know. Kids, they get attached easily, he murmured. And so do grown-ups, she replied softly. He met her eyes, and something unspoken passed between them. Over the next few weeks, their worlds began to intertwine in small, beautiful ways. Ayana found herself at Zuri's preschool art show, clapping like a proud mother when Zuri held up her rainbow-colored lion. Malik started stopping by Ayana's workplace with coffee because he just happened to be in the area, even though his office was 20 minutes away. They had dinners in Malik's tiny kitchen, Zuri dancing around in pajamas, asking Ayana to tell her bedtime stories, the ones with princesses who save themselves. Ayana had never pictured herself in a family setting. She had never been called mommy too, never been needed by someone so small, never been looked at by someone like Malik, with eyes that held admiration, gratitude, and a tenderness that scared her in all the right ways. But then, she discovered something she hadn't expected at IT. Happened when she stopped by Malik's place early to help him set up a movie night. He was on a call, voice low, expression serious. Ayana didn't mean to overhear, but she froze when she caught the words, "Tell the board I'll sign off on the youth scholarship expansion today. Yes, double the fund. These kids deserve it." When he ended the call, he looked almost embarrassed to find her standing there. "You're on a scholarship program?" she asked. Malik hesitated, then sighed. "I didn't want you to find out like this." "What does that mean?" she asked gently. He rubbed his palms together, struggling for words. "Ayana, I'm not just a single dad trying to stay afloat. I'm a founder, one of the partners at Westbridge Investments." The name hit her like a gentle shockwave. Westbridge, the firm known for massive community donations, children's programs, and quiet philanthropy. Who donate to all these centers? These art classes, the after-school projects? She whispered. He nodded slowly. I grew up without much. People helped me, so I try to help others quietly. I don't publicize it. Ayana stared at him, not because of the money, not because of the title, but because he had never once made her feel small. He had never used his success to impress her. He had shown her his heart long before his achievements. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. That Malik's voice softened, almost breaking. Because the first night we met, you didn't look at me like I was a businessman. You looked at me like I was just a dad trying to keep it together. And Ayana, I needed that. More than you know. Her throat tightened. She stepped closer. And why did you think that would change anything? He let out a slow, shaky breath. Because I've met people who only love the part of me with money. You, you love the part of me that's tired, messy, human. And that terrifies me because it feels real. Ayana reached out and took his hand. Real isn't a bad thing, Malik. He swallowed. It is when you're scared to lose it. Ayana felt something deep inside her, something that had been bruised and overlooked for years, begin to glow again. She looked at Malik, then at the little home they were building without even realizing it. Her heart whispered, maybe this is what healing looks like. Maybe this is what love feels like. Maybe this is where her life finally begins again. Outside, Zuri ran into the room with her bunny, squealing, movie time. Mommy too, sit next to me. Ayana laughed, a sound full and warm and alive, and the three of them settled onto the couch. And as the movie played with Zuri curled between them, Malik's hand found hers and held on. Not loosely, not uncertain, but with quiet conviction. Their lives, once separate, broken, lonely, were slowly weaving together thread by thread, moment by moment, heart by heart. For weeks, Ayana had lived inside a quiet, growing miracle. Late-night talks with Malik, chocolate-covered kisses on Zuri's cheeks, soft mornings where she found herself smiling at messages that shouldn't have made her blush at all, but did. She had never known life could feel this gentle, this safe, this real, but real was terrifying, because real meant she could lose it, and fear has a way of creeping in when happiness feels too good, too delicate, too impossible to trust. That IT began with the whispers. At work, the same co-workers who had orchestrated the cruel prank in the first place. Their snickering glances returned, sharper this time, fueled by jealousy, mockery, and something far uglier. IT first. Ayana ignored them. She told herself they didn't matter anymore. But then, someone snapped a photo to the blurry image of her carrying Zuri on her hip outside the community center. Someone zoomed in on her smile. Someone added a caption dripping with venom. Some women are so desperate for affection, they'll play mommy to any kid. It spread fast. Office group chats, burner accounts, gossip pages. Ayana overheard Tasha laughing in the break room. Imagine thinking getting with a single dad is a glow-up. She'll cling to anything that gives her attention. The old wounds inside Ayana cracked wide open. The ones built from years of being laughed at, dismissed, used, forgotten. Pain does not announce itself. It arrives quietly, growing like a bruise under the skin. Malik texted her that night. Movie night tomorrow? Zuri misses you. Ayana stared at her phone, fingers frozen, heart racing. She didn't reply to why the next morning, her insecurities, the ones she thought she had outgrown, wrapped around her like vines, choking her confidence that you're not enough, that you're embarrassing him. You don't belong in his world, you'll never be the woman his daughter deserves. The voices were familiar, old, dangerous. She walked in her workplace, head down, shoulders tight. People stared, whispered, smirked. She could handle loneliness. She could handle humiliation. But she couldn't handle Malik seeing her this way, through the filter of other people's cruelty. She couldn't handle Zuri running into her arms only for the world to twist it into something ugly. Something inside her snapped. Ayana typed her resignation in a single paragraph, short, professional, detached, and submitted it without hesitation. Before anyone could notice she was gone, she gathered her things and walked out of the building forever. Her phone buzzed. Malik, everything okay? Haven't heard from you. Another buzz, another. Then a voice note from Zuri. Mommy too? Where are you? I saved you a cookie. Ayana's eyes filled, hot, burning, uncontrollable. She threw her phone in her bag, because the truth was she didn't know how to explain to a 4-year-old that she was scared of being loved. For days, she avoided them. She turned her phone silent, left Malik on red, ignored his calls, deleted his messages before she could feel the ache they caused. She didn't go to the community center. She didn't visit the park. She didn't step near the ice cream shop Zuri loved. She hid. She told herself it was for their own good. That Malik deserved someone confident, someone whole, someone who wouldn't drag him into the toxic orbit of her past. That Zuri deserved a mother figure who wouldn't disappear the moment things got hard. Every night, she cried into her pillow, whispering apologies that no one could hear. On the fourth night, a hard knock rattled her apartment door. It was Imani, her childhood friend, the only person who had ever seen her come undone without judgment. The moment Ayana opened the door, Imani pushed her way in and folded her arms. Okay, you're puffy-eyed, dehydrated, and your kitchen looks like heartbreak exploded all over it. Talk. Ayana tried to brush past her, mumbling, I'm fine. Imani grabbed her wrist. No, you're not. And you're not allowed to ruin your life in silence. Ayana sank onto the couch, tears spilling instantly. They're right, Imani, she whispered. I'm pathetic. I'm embarrassing him. They call me desperate. And maybe I am. Maybe I became too attached too fast. Imani knelt in front of her, gripping her shoulders. Stop. Listen to me. Ayana looked up, chest shaking. You're not afraid of failing, Imani said softly. You're afraid of being loved for real. Ayana's face crumpled. Imani continued, voice firm but kind. Every man you met before Malik treated you like an afterthought, a game, a convenience. So when someone finally came along who meant it, you ran. Because you think love like this isn't for people like you. But Ayana, you deserve this. Ayana shook her head violently. No, I don't. Malik has a whole life. A whole world. He doesn't need someone messy. And Zuri, oh God, she called me mommy too. She trusts me. What if I hurt her? What if I ruin everything? Imani cupped her jaw. She chose you. That little girl sees you in a way you can't even see yourself yet. And Malik? Girl, that man looks at you like he's been waiting for you his whole life. Ayana sobbed. A raw, painful sound pulled from somewhere deep. He deserves better. Imani shook her head. He deserves you. But you have to stop running first. Ayana looked away. I don't know how. Imani touched her hand gently. Then start by opening the door when love knocks again. Ayana wiped her eyes, barely holding herself together. I'm scared, Imani. I know, she whispered. But being scared doesn't mean you walk away from the people who love you. That night, Ayana sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the door, as if expecting something to if her heart knew what her mind didn't. And then there was a soft knock. Not firm, not demanding, just hopeful. Ayana froze. Another knock. Then a tiny voice. Mommy too? Are you in there? Ayana's breath broke. Her knees trembled. She rushed to the door but paused before opening it, afraid of what she might see, afraid of what she might break. With a shaking hand, she turned the knob. Standing there was Zuri, cheeks pink from the cold, Bunny held tightly in her arms, and Malik, eyes red like he hadn't slept properly in days. Zuri lifted a drawing, thrusting it into Ayana's hands with childish pride that it was a picture. Crayon strokes point three stick figures under a bright rainbow, all holding hands, above it in wobbly letters, our family. Ayana's knees gave out. She crumpled to the floor, sobbing into her hands. Zuri immediately crawled into her lap, wrapping tiny arms around her neck. Don't cry, Mommy too. I made you the biggest rainbow ever. Rainbows mean the sad goes away. Malik knelt beside them, voice breaking. Ayana, you could have told me you were hurting. You could have said anything. I don't care about gossip. I care about you. She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, could only shake her head helplessly. I'm not mad, Malik whispered. I was scared. Scared something happened to you. Scared you didn't want us anymore. Ayana clutched the drawing to her chest like it was oxygen. I didn't want to lose you, she cried. I thought I wasn't enough. Malik pulled her into his arms. Then let me say this clearly, he whispered into her hair. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to stay. Ayana melted into him, the fear pouring out like poison leaving the body. Painful, purifying, necessary. And with Zuri's tiny hand patting her cheek, whispering, It's okay. We found you again. Ayana realized this wasn't just love. This was home. This was family. This was the moment that finally broke her open so she could begin again. The Women's Empowerment Conference buzzed with applause, laughter, and the faint hum of inspiration. Ayana sat in the front row, unaware that today would rewrite everything she thought she knew about love, courage, and destiny. The keynote speaker was supposed to be someone else, a respected figure in the business world, someone with accolades and authority. But as the lights shifted, a familiar figure walked confidently onto the stage. Malik. Gasps filled the room. Whispers traveled through the audience. Ayana froze, heart lurching in her chest. Malik spoke first with calm, measured words about resilience, strength, and the power of women. But then, the moment took a turn that left Ayana breathless. He stepped off the stage, slowly, determined, and knelt before her, in front of hundreds of people, under the bright lights that once seemed meant to humiliate her. In his hand was a simple gold band, unassuming yet perfect. Would you be the first person to call me husband again, since the day I lost everything? Ayana blinked, unable to form words. Her chest tightened with disbelief, joy, and the kind of emotion that felt like the universe had finally bent in her favor. Then, from behind her, Zuri's small voice rang out. "Do I have a mommy now?" Ayana's tears fell freely. She knelt on the carpet beside Zuri, pulling her into a warm, trembling embrace. "Yes, sweetheart, you do," she whispered. And in that instant, every lonely night, every fear, every humiliation faded, replaced with the soft, glowing certainty of belonging. The audience erupted into cheers, but Ayana only saw Malik's eyes, steady, filled with love, admiration, and a quiet promise that had been years in the making. A year later, they returned to the very same table in the indigo room, the one meant to humiliate her, the one where laughter had once cut like knives. Malik held her hand gently, his thumb brushing hers. "If they hadn't made you the punchline," he murmured, voice soft, sincere, "I never would have found you." Ayana smiled through tears, resting her head on his shoulder. Around them, Zuri laughed, chasing butterflies outside the window, the three of them wrapped in a life built from kindness, patience, and courage. What had begun as cruelty, a joke meant to humiliate, had become a forever love. Because sometimes the moments meant to break us turn out to be the moments that make us whole. And as Ayana looked at Malik and Zuri, her family, her heart, her home, she knew one simple truth. Love, when it's real, always finds a way. Sometimes the moments that hurt us the most are the ones that lead us to our greatest joy. Ayana walked into that restaurant expecting humiliation, not a family that would change her life forever. She faced fear, doubt, and her own insecurities. Yet love found a way through laughter, courage, and small acts of kindness. From Zuri's innocent smiles to Malik's quiet strength, she discovered that home isn't a place, it's people who see you, accept you, and never let go. And in their arms, she finally understood. Even the cruelest setups can lead to the happiest beginnings.